어쩌면 서로 대립하는 이 가치를 어떻게 잘 어우러지게 할 수 있을까? 그것이 우리 제주 미래를 결정할 것이라고 생각합니다. 이를 위해서 우리는 물리적인 혹은 경제적인 관점에서 벗어나 인문학적인 접근을 시도해야 한다고 생각합니다. 즉, 개발과 보존은 어느 경우에서든 미래를 규정하는 중요한 요소이지만 인문학적인 접근이 그 주요 방법이라고 생각하며 국가 차원의 계획보다는 제주인의, 우리 제주도민만의 자주적인 의지가 대단히 중요하다고 생각합니다. 대표적인 성공 사례 하나를 보여드리겠습니다. 바로 제주도의 한경면 저지리의 문화예술인 마을입니다. 이 마을의 특징 3가지를 제가 찾아냈습니다. 우선 자생하는 마을이라는 점입니다. 이곳은 지역 주민의 예술, 문화, 교육의 장으로 활용됨과 동시에 예술인의 작품을 생산하는 장소로 나름대로의 독특한 새로운 자생력을 갖고 있습니다. 또한 현장 체험과 예술 교육을 바탕으로 이 마을만의 문화와 생활 양식을 만들어 각종 워크숍이나 교류 등 다양한 지역 행사를 유치해서 방문객에게 저지 마을만의 특별한 경쟁력을 지녀서 많은 것을 보여주고 있습니다. 마지막으로 친환경적이고 향토적인 공간이 결합되어 이 지역만의 고유한 독특한 나름대로의 독자성을 지닌다는 것입니다. 잠시 해외로 눈을 돌려보겠습니다. 이탈리아의 중부 해발 195m의 바위산에 올라앉은 중세도시 오르비에토입니다. 구름이 낮게 깔리면 하늘에 둥실 떠있는 듯한 환상적인 분위기를 자아내는 이 도시는 이탈리아에서도 가장 아름다운 도시 중에 하나로 손꼽히고 있습니다. 옛 도시라는 이름을 그런 뜻을 지닌 이름인데요. 고대 에트루리아 이래 3000년이 넘는 역사를 자랑하고 있습니다. 삶, 인간의 삶, 그리고 맛, 멋. 여기서는 모든 시간이 멈춰진 상태에서 느리게 살기를 화두로 한 슬로우 시티 운동의 본거장으로 알려져 있습니다. 여기는 화산암으로 이루어진 자연 환경을 보호하기 위해서 차량의 이용을 제한해서 방문객들은 트램이나 친환경 버스를 타고 움직일 수밖에 없습니다. 또한 시가 가진 문화유산인 두오모 대성당에는 볼세나의 기적으로 불리우는 13세기의 성체포가 보관되어 있습니다. 예수님의 주검을 싼 그런 지포죠. 더불어 16세기에 교황이 지시해서 팠다는 깊이 62m의 성 파트리치오 우물 등 수많은 문화유산을 굉장히 좋은 상태로 보존하고 있습니다. 나아가 이것이 굉장히 중요한 내용 중에 하나인데요. 글로벌 브랜드의 체인점 유치를 완전히 거부했습니다. 그 결과 그 지역의 전통 음식과 수공업 등이 잘 보존되어서 처음엔 좀 어려웠는데 이제는 바로 그 점이 이 도시의 전 세계로부터 수많은 관광객을 끌어들이는 유치 요소가 되고 있습니다. 자, 굉장히 유명한, 너무나도 유명해진 뉴욕의 슬로건입니다. 이 슬로건은 1차 세계 파동을 겪은 직후에 뉴욕의 경제와 질서를 회복하기 위해서 특별히 제작을 했습니다. 이 캠페인이 보기 드문 호응과 성과를 이루어서 퇴폐하고 위험했던 뉴욕은 아주 세련되고 매력적인 도시로 바뀌었습니다. 주민들은 다시 돌아오기 시작했고 범죄는 급격하게 줄어들고 방문객은 급증해서 관광객이 매년 200억 달러 이상을 뉴욕시에서 소비하고 있습니다. 쉽고 간결한 이 슬로건의 핵심은 과연 무엇일까요? 예, 바로 제가 처음에 언급했던 바로 사랑입니다. 사랑의 이미지가 바로 모든 뉴욕 시민의 마음을 움직여서 엄청난 결속력과 나름의 어떤 소속감을 바탕으로 해서 작은 기적을 만든 것입니다. 우리 제주가 내걸고 있는 슬로건입니다. 이거 지극히 개인적인 생각입니다만 제주도민 모두를 움직이는, 더 나아가 우리나라 또는 세계 사람의 누군가를 움직일 수 있는 무엇인가가 빠져있다는 생각을 저는 지울 수가 없습니다. 제주라는 지역이 무엇을 주고자 하는 건지, 제주가 가야 할 방향이 어디인지, 제주에서 무엇을 기대해야 하는지 이런 것들을 담아야 되는데 또 누구와 함께 어느 누구와도 함께 공감이나 소통이 이루어진다고 생각하는데 과연 그런 것들이 온리 제주라는 이 슬로건에 담아 있는지 저는 잘 모르겠습니다. 제가 생각하는 제주는 쉼과 휴식이 중시되는 느림의 미학에 있다고 생각합니다. 또한 도시의 구조가 꽉꽉 채워지고 쌓여지고 하는 것보다는 비워져야 되고 그 비움의 중심에 제주의 풍부한 인문학적 유산이 녹아들어야 한다고 생각합니다. 더불어 기존의 자연 환경과 연결돼서 인문적이고도 친환경적인 도시라면 더욱더 좋겠죠. 클린하면 많은 분들께 어쩌면 굉장히 생소한 단어일 것입니다. 이거는 과거 철학자의 지적에서부터 시작된 단어인데 요즘에 들어서는 일상과 타성에서 벗어난다는 의미로 사용되는 단어입니다. 물질적인 가치와 개발이 화두였던 지난 세기의 빠름에서 벗어나서 원래 그리고 치유 이런 것 같은 느림의 미학을 존중하고 이를 통해서 제주도의 가치를 찾을 수 있지는 않을지, 삶의 속도를 느리게 하면 더 많은 것을 볼 수 있고 익숙한 길보다는 새로운 길을 찾아내고 크고 높은 것보다는 작고 따뜻한 것에 관심을 가지는 클린함의 영화 아바타의 한 장면입니다. 이 장면처럼 인간과 자연이 서로 교감할 수 있도록 느림과 비움이 존중되는 도시, 판에 박힌 도시의 모습보다는 일탈이 가능한, 튀는 행동이 가능한 그런 도시, 이것이 바로 클린함의 시티입니다. 서두에 말씀드리는 어쩌면 다시 사랑할 수 있지 않을까라는 말처럼 제주의 가치를 다시 사랑하기 위해서 느림과 비움으로 사랑으로 가득한 클린함한 제주가 되기를 희망합니다. 제주의 털을 내리고 제주를 표현하는 이 슬라이드에서 보시는 이 작품의 작가이신 이활종 화백님께서 이미 실천하고 계신 아름다운 삶입니다. 네, 이상으로 제 발표를 마치겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네, 아마도 그 건축 디자인 이 내용보다는 앞으로 우리가 지향해야 될 그 새로운 그 환경 디자인의 철학, 느림과 비움 이러한 내용을 말씀해 주셨습니다. 이어서 두 번째로는 그 리서치 아키텍트 디자인의 에론탄 선생님께서 또 외국인의 시각에서 본 또 제주의 그 건축 환경 도시 디자인에 대해서 말씀해 주시겠습니다.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for inviting me to come to this very special conference. And I'm very humbled to be here because I'm only been to Jeju 5 times, each time probably about 2 days. In the span of the first time was about 20 years ago, and the last one was last year. And so I will definitely admit that I do not know Jeju as well as many of you. So rather than doing that, I thought I would like to take this opportunity to share my recent experience on designing certain projects in this region, where it helps me to understand certain uniqueness of each project, which I hope can share with you and perhaps can bring some thoughts and contribution to this session. I'm an architect from Singapore, living in Hong Kong, and now I'm here in the beautiful Jeju Island sharing some experience with you. Jeju is slightly bigger than Hong Kong and Singapore, but it's actually pretty impressive in terms of it only has 500,000 people, but it actually attracts 10 times more tourists. So compared to Singapore, we could attract maybe 3 times, Hong Kong maybe also about 3 times, so we are doing exceptionally well. And of course, your target will be like Disney. They are attracting a lot more. That's something to look into. I live in Hong Kong, but I'm a Singaporean. So each time when I go to a city, I'm particularly interested in what is the uniqueness about the city through my profession. In this particular city, in my early days, I was asked to build an office tower. Unfortunately, when I was looking at the existing buildings in Hong Kong, like this, in the 90s, this was a very famous one, but it's almost like an influence from Chicago. Likewise, this particular building in Hong Kong, that was very famous in the 90s. Again, it was pretty much a transport from another city. So, as a Singaporean going to Hong Kong, I thought maybe we should do something more uniquely Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is a city that doesn't have many, many beautiful buildings at that time. But what is amazing is when you go to the peak and you look down and you see many, many buildings collection together. So rather than just doing an individual building, me and my team thought we just took a photo of the peak and then we wrap it around our buildings and then we trace the lines and make it with some random quality, which is one of the quality in Hong Kong, and then just let it discover some potential in our randomness and make our building something that is more probably made in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has many, many people, so we also try to say, let's explore other cities. I'm a Singaporean again, so I have this particular interest in being in a place with snow. I love snow, maybe because I'm so much from the south. So this is so when I had opportunity to come to Korea, my first day arrived was a snowstorm, so it was wonderful. And I thought maybe I could do a building that captured the uniqueness of the north. So my idea was to have a building that looks almost like a Christmas tree. And however, of course, as an architect, we do have responsibility towards our owners and in terms of maintenance and in terms of cost. So we do need to modify some details and make it work. And eventually, it could not capture snow, but rather it has to perform only in terms of reacting to capturing light, artificial light. So when my office get an opportunity to do something in India, the first day I arrived was superly hot, the sun was so bright, so we thought maybe this time we can capture not just only artificial light, but real light. And the real light actually, through its shadow, and the shadow actually brings certain quality. It helps in terms of weathering, but also it helps in terms of aesthetic. And then you might see that the building has a lot of articulation on the facade, and it means actually representing different hotel rooms. And actually, this particular idea is not uniquely anymore. It actually came from when me and my office worked on a project in Walker Hill, and that was the time when we tried to develop a series of different rooms spread out on the facade of the building. And that idea was actually triggered by this particular image. We were doing an extension of a hotel to Walker Hill Hotel, Sheraton, but we were also understood that the local authority will not allow us to block the ridge line of the building. So we've been telling our client to say, why not we just think we are building just a piece of cloud. And so the cloud allowed us to distribute the rooms, but at the same time, it was so successful, so we start to bring the clouds into the interior of the building. And when you have cloud, we make rain for couples to enjoy. And when we have rain, we thought of making the raindrops to be on the floor. And with the raindrop, we start to get carried away by the circles and bring the circles to the roof to cover the mechanical room. So there's like a sequence of the woman's skirt. So the story continues. And so what I'm trying to say is that I'm starting to build up issues that every place has its uniqueness, every project has its own unique history, and it's a lot of time depending on how an architect or a designer, because I believe today many of you are designers and planners, and how we interpret the data, how we turn it into a strategy, and to bring contribution to a particular situation. So usually what I'll do is I'll look at research, and then we do the design. So I'd like to take you through about 3, 4, 5 projects today to see how we can bring some knowledge to this situation. First with R. R means we think. And this project was for the city of Singapore. And we were asked to master plan about 1/10 of Singapore here. And this is a place where all the industries are gathered of Singapore. And the government was looking into a new industry because in the old days we were manufacturing industry, but bringing it to a kind of knowledge industry. As you know that for knowledge industry, it requires a lot more stimulants. It's no longer just a kind of place where full of factories, but it requires education, residents, commercial, everything bring together. However, this project is impossible to do because we were asked to do a 50 years master plan of this whole place. In our research, we basically told the government, said, you as the government, we know that they changed administration every 5 years. And as you know, that things change every year anyway. So even if we do a master plan, we are pretending that the master plan will work. So rather than doing a master plan, we give them a computer program that pixelates every 1 square kilometers or every 100 square meters, and so that we can input together with the CEO of that particular season to look at infrastructure impact, to look at green impact, and so that we can project scenarios 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. The bigger pixels represent years that are 50 years later, because you actually do not know what it is. Smaller pixels represent years that are happening now, so that you know the content. So it's actually a more accurate way in analyzing and also helping to know what kind of planning we could do. So the Minister of Singapore was very happy. They think that if this project works, it will actually make good contribution to the rest of Singapore. Now bring you to some place that is more closer to you. It's Hainan. This is China, and this Jeju here, and this Hainan Island. And we were given a site that is not the best part of Hainan. I mean, places like Mr. Song worked on beautiful Boao. Sanya is more famous. We're given a site that's very challenging, which is in high cold. And you know that when we work on Hainan has the same struggle because it's like the Jeju of Korea. Hainan is like for China. And when we work on places like this, usually we'll ask, do you have a good natural heritage? And that means it's not like Jeju, you have a nice natural heritage, but in Hainan it's actually pretty hard to find. And the next question you ask, do you have a good cultural heritage? Because again, Hainan is pretty hard to find because it's not like you go to Bali, there's a very strong religion influence, or you go to Thailand, same thing, or you go to Jeju. Hainan doesn't have. So we have a difficulty. So in this kind of situation, we have to come up with a programmatic strategy to compensate for its weakness. Of course, as a planner, we start with knowing how big our place is, and we start to see what are the potential. There's an existing river, so we carve the river in, and then since there are some beach, we bring the beach in. Of course, many of us would know that this is probably a developer project where they want to design many different villas to sell. But what was important for us as planners, we look at more this public area, the public zone where the developer has to contribute back to the city. And we like to have this public area, the plaza, to have a bigger vision where it can be a landmark, not just only for the developer, but helping the city itself. And it can also help its tourism. And that was the period where education and entertainment was very popular to become part of the tourism. And of course, the owner was one of the biggest power group. And so again, when we talk about power, we want to encourage them to also look into sustainable energy contribution. So that in this particular project, we hope that it has a kind of network with the rest of the green eco area throughout the whole Hainan Island. We introduced the idea of E3, that means entertainment, ecology, and energy, all forming together for the public plaza. where publics can come in to experience and also learn about the importance of ecology. Of course, the rest of it is more in terms of how we gather the parking, how we generate the different zones from the entrance of the plaza all the way to the beachfront. And we create 5 bands of programmatic area where each band will have its own characteristic and attractions. Like I keep stressing again, Hainan, especially Haikou, doesn't have cultural heritage and doesn't have a natural heritage. In the end, we do need to use programmatic ideas to intensify the attractions. So these are the attractions that we need to inject into the Buraraza site, so that when visitors come, they can at least remember this particular place. And like many tourist projects, in the end, we also end with the Ferris wheel. Okay. One trick we did is we call this place Hawaii. So we hope that the Chinese that time their English is not so good, so when they thought that they're going to Hawaii, they might end up in this place here. Now I reduced my scale to architecture. So the first 2 projects I showed you just now, the one in Singapore was more about a kind of strategy that we need to develop beyond physical planning. Second project in Hainan Island, I show you that when there's a place lack of certain heritage, we need to use program to inject. And now the third project is in Taiwan. Our project was asked, it's actually a very simple project. It's a highway rest stop on one of the highways in Taiwan. In that particular planning by the local authority, usually they separate the truck drivers from the passengers drivers, so that there are 2 rest stops assisting. The problem is each time when we go and visit a certain existing example, sometimes this place is very full of people, and sometimes this place has no people. So it's actually quite underutilized. So we propose to the government to combine these 2 buildings into one, so that you can add value and add efficiency. By doing so, they actually also give us an excuse to do a building that is bigger than the usual one. It's about 200 meters long. So that this building can be lower because of its length. It can actually have more content, like introducing architectural design, at the same time also bring museum space to it. So when it was open on the opening day, they actually have to get police here to drive out people and limit people 45 minutes to visit. It is a good thing, and actually in the end, because of this project, all service centers, so-called rest stop on the highway, has to achieve tourist target. That means it has elevated to become a tourist spot. So in this particular project, we talk about adding value to an existing project. The next one we want to talk about is something closer to our heart here. We got an opportunity to work for Dr. Lee on the university project. And in this particular project, when we went to the city of Chungju and the university, we found out that the different faculty are all scattered around, and hardly we find a good place for students to gather together. They don't have a good, pardon me, Dr. Lee, but I feel that quite difficult for students to gather together. So when we're given a project to design, usually we look at many scenarios, but in the end we thought what is more meaningful is not the architecture. What is more meaningful is to create, is to create 2 passages for the student to get from one side of the campus to the other side, and from another side of the campus to the other side, and becoming a gathering place for them. So it's about creating a passage here, and by doing so, the building just be extended to the edge of the boundary, and you can see the passage sort of like cuts the building into 3-4 pieces. So we thought it was good to relink the building as a loop again, so there's this continuity even being cut. And in this continuity at the cut, in the end, our design is very much only about designing entrances to this building, whether it's from this part here, or from this part here, or from that part. So these are all the different entrances of the building, whether just now it's from there or from here. And then internally, the building is like the village itself is connected by a bridge. So it generates a lot of public spaces for the students to gather together. And the kind of quality is extended into the interior space. We also tried to react a bit with the sun, but actually it didn't really work. It's like all the windows opening big and small is based on the kind of sun you want to capture. But in the end, it didn't really work out. But this was some of the intention. So the last two projects I showed, one in Taiwan is to talk about, take the opportunity of the situation and add value to the project. And the project in Chongqing University is about, other than architecture, public space is just as important from a situation for design. Now I bring you to design. This is in Hong Kong. And this is Hong Kong Island, and that's China. This is still part of Hong Kong. And this particular project, it's a bit like here, very beautiful. You have the mountains, you have the hill, the water. And our challenge was to design a project within this red line. It's owned by a particular owner. And for many years, he's been buying small pocket of farmland. But he couldn't buy the blue one. The blue owner refused to sell it to him. Our task was to turn this whole place into a resort hotel with spa, but still got to live with all this blue land. So instead of being frightened by it, we just allow ourselves to live. This is the blue land. We just set ourselves 6 to 10 meters away, and then we just extrude and extend our